but would Liverpool fans ever be open to state ownership? And a variety of people, Simon, having their say on that. There is the exotically named Oksana Astankova, who tells me Manchester City isn't owned by a nation state, Mr. White. It's a private investment by Sheikh Mansour, and he now has at least two other partners involved in that.
He just happens to be the Deputy Prime Minister of the UAE and a member of the ruling family. You know, so come on now, don't be bloody silly. And they may have taken on a couple of minority shareholders, but they are owned by an institution and a nation state. Yeah. So we can split hairs about it. They're doing very well. They're making profits. They are an economically viable football club, but let's not dilute things because you don't like the look of things.
Yeah, many Liverpool fans getting involved, sending us their own version of events at the moment, their own reaction to the news yesterday that FSG would be open to seeking new investment. But would the same Liverpool fans ever be open to state ownership? Simon, I'll talk about Spirit of Shankly in their statement in a second, but I do go back to the morning of the Big Six announcing that they were prepared to break away and join a Super League. And one wonders if there and then that was a kind of marker that Liverpool fans maybe thought differently about the people at the top of their football club, who certainly have done great things for the football club. Of that there is no denying. But when Liverpool and the five others said, we are very keen to talk about a Super League, there and then Liverpool fans voiced their concern. And at that time, it forced John W. Henry, the man at the very top, into giving something of a red-faced apology.
I want to apologize to all the fans, supporters of Liverpool Football Club for the disruption I caused over the past 48 hours. Goes without saying, but should be said, that the project put forward was never going to stand without the support of the fans. No one ever thought differently in England. Over these 48 hours, you were very clear that it would not stand. We heard you. I heard you. I know the entire LFC team has the expertise, leadership, and passion necessary to rebuild trust and help us move forward.
To some extent, Simon, for some hardened Liverpool fans, was that the beginning of the end of the relationship? Did some of them take a step back and think, we know what you're about now. You're just like all the rest.
Yeah, they could take a step back to Hicks and Gillette, but nearly ruin their football club and virtually put them into bankruptcy. And if it wasn't for John Henry, the football club would have been in administration. They can take that step back if they want. Or they can look at the reality of the big world, the real world. That is ultimately a situation where there is an opportunity to play in a European Super League. These guys are incredibly smart. You know, they're way above my pay grade, but the John Henrys of the world and the Stan Kroenkes of the world and the Glazers, of course they are, and the Glazers of the world. In what way? Well, in every way, from their economic, financial might to their intellect. But this makes me question why they would be in a situation that they put themselves in the way of something they possibly cannot read the room. I don't care if you're born in Namibia or New York City. You've got to read the room of where you are. Who in God's name would think that anyone was going to swallow that BS from the European Super League? I sat here on the morning of it, and so did you, and I went, it's not going to happen, that old nonsense. And so it duly didn't. I didn't expect them to get off a stall, stand up for a fight, before they threw a punch, sit back down again. Ludicrous, ridiculous. To make ridiculous climb down statements like that puts you in a position. But you show me someone that's never failed, and I'll show you someone that's never tried anything. These guys are trying to make a model for football for themselves. And the beneficiaries of it will be the clubs that they own and, of course, themselves. Nobody in their right mind, not the most ardent Liverpool fan, ever thought that John Henry came in to buy Liverpool because it was a philanthropic exercise. It was about buying Liverpool so that FSG could make some money, and the beneficiaries along the way would naturally be Liverpool Football Club and John Henry and FSG. That's the marriage that you wanted. That's the marriage that you got. That's the marriage that is the real world of football. So with that in mind, John Henry backing away in the same way that Kroenke did, in the same way that the Man City guys did, in the same way that everyone else that was in that particular mix did. They stood back and looked at the situation and went, OK, the fans, if this proposition, this European Super League, had been sold properly, there wouldn't have been a fan uprising. If they'd have been told, listen, this is what this is about. We don't recognise UEFA as being the only people in the only game in town. Yeah. We recognise there's another opportunity. We need to monetise football better. And wouldn't you want your football club in the middle of that? And every football fan would have said yes, but we want it to be fair. Okay. And we want it to be meritocracy.
Well, the Super League apart, Simon, a whole bunch of Liverpool fans getting in touch this morning, and the opinion is varied right across the board. It's interesting this. There's Luke, big Liverpool fan. I'm a massive fan of the club. I've been very grateful to FSG and their leadership of the club, but transfer policy over the last few to 4 wins. Hugely frustrating. So yes, the old
And there
cliche,
you are.
if you can't beat them, let's join them. In other
And the
words,
truth will set you free.
would Liverpool fans ever be open to state ownership whereby
You bet
you
they
can
would.
welcome the biggest names to your football club? It would seem, Luke for one is saying, yeah, you bet I
The
would.
Liverpool fans that would be pointing over at Newcastle going, yuck, look at that ownership model, would have the exact same ownership model.
Well,
if it
would
suited
they?
them.
Dom, big Liverpool fan. Good morning to you. What's going on at what's going on at Newcastle, and then previously Manchester City? Would you entertain it if SFG sold to a state owner?
Yeah, sign me up for it, Jim. I'm up for it, definitely. But like you say, I mean, you can call me a hypocrite all you want. I've seen it on Twitter. All our fans were giving it large to Newcastle's fans when they signed up for it. I'm sure they'll be deleting a few tweets now, but I just think, you know, the current sort of climate. I'm not educated enough to tell you the rights and the wrongs of the Saudis or the Qataris or whoever. But I mean, all we want is for our football club to be as successful and be at the top end of the table as much as they possibly can. And you've got to be sort of fighting on all fronts. If we got that sort of backing, then we definitely would. One thing I'd say on FSG, if I could, I personally, I mean, I'm no businessman, but I mean, I sort of remember when they came in and we were like a derelict, rundown mansion that once was really, really good. And for them to come in, I think they changed the sort of dynamics of us because we were, you know, we had a rundown stadium. They've improved that. We had an old historical training ground in Melwood. They've moved us to a fantastic facility at Kirby that looks top drawer. They brought in probably one of the elite managers, which, you know, when we've gone through a period of, no offence to them, but Roy Hodgson and Kenny Dalglish, who've been out of management for years, I don't think that we can point too many fingers at FSG. I think they've been good, solid owners.
So basically, Dom, you applaud FSG for what they've done, but you would be open to Liverpool being state-owned?
I would be open to it, Jim, because you just want your football club to be the best that they can be. The dynamics of it, I don't want to say, you know, that these people are... I don't know the background of these people. You guys do. I mean, if it's bad money, then it needs looking at by different people, not football fans. Football fans just want the best for the club and the club to be as successful and be fighting at the top end of the table, don't they? In my opinion.
Okay, listen, thanks so much for the call. Simon, more and more messages coming in. And I must admit, I'm somewhat surprised by this. Lee in Preston, morning, Jim. Simon, I've been a Liverpool fan for 35 years. I grew up watching Manchester United dominate. City are now dominating, and the only way Liverpool can now compete and become dominant is to have the cash to buy world-class players and pay world-class wages. Being state-owned would potentially do that, but it isn't guaranteed that it would do that, but it would help. So... people saying, yeah, hang on, now that you've asked me, I'd be open to it.
But let's get some context, right? It wasn't 6 months ago that Liverpool were on the cusp of winning four trophies.
True.
They were on the cusp. They were more than
they
competing.
didn't.
No, they didn't. But their margins are so fine. We're just seeing a moment in time with Liverpool Football Club on the pitch. That will right itself.
Yeah.
Now, economically, Liverpool have been smashing it as well.
Sure.
They've been up in the £400 or £500 million bracket.
Yeah.
Now, we'll talk about Man City later on and their achievements of getting one of the highest turnovers. Not the high. I think, is it the highest turnover or second highest turnover since the Premier League?
Yeah.
And don't forget, if you own 10 or 15 football clubs around the world, you can do brand deals that you can spread across all those football clubs and benefit one more than others. There's a variety of reasons why.
This is interesting this morning, though, Simon. We'll carry this on the other side of 10:30 because there's always in this show, and we are hugely grateful for it. The response is enormous. Michael McFadden, would you, as a Liverpool fan, ever be open to state ownership? 100%. Bring it on. 10:30.
Jim White and Simon Jordan. Monday to Friday mornings from 10 on AM, on DAB, via the talkSPORT app and on your smart speaker. talkSPORT.